All right. So as I said this before, I'm going to say it again. Okay. I am content with the amount of threes at this point. After thinking about it more and more, it makes sense, right? Like at this point, Wemby doesn't really have a go-to shot, and he's not going to get that in the middle of an NBA season. All right, go-to shots, he's going to have to work on in the offseason, see what's worked for him. He's gonna get somewhat of a idea of where he wants to be on the court, but as far as having a go-to shot, something he can just continuously rely on time in or night in and night out, time and time again, that is not going to happen this quickly. He hasn't had a complete offseason. He's going to need a complete offseason to get that. And if that's the case, why not just take the threes that are open? And him being 7 for 5, all of it's open. And also, I think that the team has made a obvious effort to make sure everyone is taking threes, and they're trying to find the blueprint for playing around Wemby. And right now, just like a lot of stars in the NBA, Luka, even Jokic to an extent, a lot of these guys, you want to be able to space the floor as much as humanly possible because they bring so much attention. And it seems like that's what the Spurs are doing. And they're telling everyone on the team, shoot as many threes as you possibly can. And at the end of the day, will it work? Maybe. Hopefully. But if it doesn't, then maybe you just know who should be on the team and who shouldn't come next season. So let's listen to Mitch Johnson talk about this, and then we'll listen to Harrison Barnes talk about this. Shout out to Spurs reporter for posting this. Let's okay, it's all turned up. You guys will be able to hear it. It might be too loud. Bear with me, okay? Be ready.
He makes shots every day. Like I think, he missed really good shots to start the year, and I understand why it's a talking point, but I don't think we ever wavered on him not making shots, and I think it's just percentages even out at this point.
Thank you, mentioned.
All right, so that's about Wembanyama taking as many threes he has, and we already know that Popovich has also said that as well. Like they asked him, should Wemby be taking as many threes? He said, absolutely, take as many as he need, and then Wemby has said it as well. So they haven't backed up on it. Everybody's on the same page. All right, let's see Harrison Barnes talk about the team shooting 46 of them. Let's see. Yeah, that's a lot. That's a lot. That's a lot of threes.
Absolutely. I think, the biggest thing is you have to shoot them in order to make them. And I think manufacturing good threes is something that, we've had a focus on in the off season and then just translating into the season. Some nights they fall, some nights they won't. But as long as they're good quality shots, we'll continue to take them and, have good floor balance for rebounding.
Back.
Yeah, nothing much to say about that. Someone said Pop was definitely right about Wemby struggling. I didn't quite was it might have been you, Amadou, who was pretty upset about what Popovich said early on, but was that you? Correct me, it might not have been you. But someone in the chat was pretty upset about that. And I was like, he's right. Wemby is going to struggle. Yeah, I was okay, it was you. Yeah, he was like, yeah, it is what it is. Like, I don't know. Of course he's going to struggle. It didn't make sense for him to struggle early on. It was going to happen. He was right, though. Yeah. We're straight up trying to recreate the Boston formula from their championship run. It works. Part of the process. It makes sense from development standpoint. You don't want him banging inside at this point with his current frame. Well, it's not just banging inside with his current frame. I think it's also doing it without any type of direction, because I just don't think Wemby really has a direction. Oftentimes, to be real with you, the best looking Wemby shot right now are outside shots or mid-range shots, because yes, like you say, he doesn't necessarily have the frame for it yet or the strength for it yet, but it just seems like he's rushing it. As soon as he posts up, it just seems like a rush job. It doesn't seem like he's going at his own pace. Like you watch someone like, I don't know, I know this is the greatest power forward of all time, but Tim Duncan, right? Tim Duncan always went his own pace. Didn't do anything fancy, didn't do anything crazy, but it was at his own pace all the time, and you couldn't stop it. Kevin Durant, a player that Wemby looks up to, same thing. He goes at his own pace. Wemby talked about that, right? When he first went against KD after the game, he said, I noticed that he goes at his own pace. And that's just something that Wemby is going to have to learn, to do. Is be able to go at his own pace and not rush it. It's, a lot of times when he posts up, he rushes the shot. And I've noticed that a lot. And if that's not his best shot he can go to right now, then why not just go to the shots you feel most comfortable with, right? And if the entire team as a whole is going to take more threes, then why not? Just do it. Can't stop that fundamental. That's what Tim Duncan had. You just couldn't stop it. He went at his own pace. He did his own thing. I mean, we don't have to talk about star players here, right? I mean, Kyle Anderson is an example of someone that goes at his own pace. And at times, I mean, he plays well. He's crafty. He plays well. He does his thing. Gets to his spots. He's a pretty good player. Nothing crazy. Nothing to write home about, but I like Kyle Anderson. Tim Duncan was not saucy though. Different players. Tim Duncan can be saucy if he wanted to. Now Tim Duncan has some things. He has some things in his bag now. A lot of players have things, things that they can pull out. No, he could at times, every now and then, he'll pull something out his bag. But yeah, I mean, obviously Tim Duncan and Wemby are completely two different players. But the fact remains, regardless of what type of player you are, the greats go at their own pace, and the greats have go-to moves. That's all that matters. Pull out like Primo? Yes, like Primo. Just like Primo. Look like Hawks are headed to 4-8 as they play the Celtics tomorrow. Isn't that beautiful? Isn't that great, guys? 2 lottery picks, more than likely. Who said Tim ain't saucy? Tim is saucy. He has some moves in his belt. A lot of players do. They just don't. If it's not necessary, they don't do it. Young Timmy was different. The nephews don't know. Young Timmy was, he was nasty. People remember Timmy after the leg brace. I wish Wemby had a post game like Tim. Well, give it a second. I mean, how old was Tim Duncan when he got to the league? Tim Duncan, was he like 22? Rookie age. How old was Tim Duncan, y'all? Does anyone know right off the bat? He was 21. He was 21 years old. Tim Duncan was 21 years old. 21. All right. And Wemby is what, 20? I think Wemby just turned 20. Yeah, Wemby just turned 20. So you give it a minute. Well, he didn't just turn 20. That's not true. He didn't just turn 20. He's about to turn 21. So let's see where Wemby is at the end of 2025. Wemby is 20. Let that sink in. So young. So young. You love to see it. Gonna be one of the greats. All right. Ending segment.